Hey guys, it's Janice, and this week I came to Iowa. Iowa is known for agriculture, known for farming, but I talked to a farmer for this video that's going to be a little bit different from the mainstream that you've heard about. We're going to be looking around a cricket farm. We talked to Shelby Smith.
There's not a lot going on in terms of loudness and whatnot, but I'll show you some eggs. Let's see who's gonna look best. So you see all those little white grains of rice things that look like those are cricket eggs. I would anticipate they are 1 or 2 days away from hatching. And
So where do you get cricket eggs?
From the crickets that I raised last round. They lay them. So I'm going to hand you this egg. And I want you to pop it. You're going to have to do it between your fingers or your fingernail. You'll be surprised at how much it pops.
It really pops.
That's why I always give one to someone because they're like, whoa. So yeah, that's what, there's probably a few thousand, tens of thousands of eggs in this.
I just killed it.
You did. It's
Cricket.
okay though.
I was waiting to be born.
I allowed you to do it. I think it's one of those that it's hard to describe until
It definitely pops. So it looks like a grain of rice.
Mm-hmm.
Grain of rice is solid.
Yep.
Eggs aren't solid, so I get it.
Yes, conceptually, but it's still one of those things.
It is surprising.
A little bit shocking when it happens. So this is just damp peat moss, or moist peat moss, shall we say, depending on what word somebody wants to use or dislike. But these, we incubate them for about 11 days. And so that's what a baby cricket looks like. It's on my arm. It's a pinhead. They're called pinheads for obvious reasons. So these guys will probably be hatching in the next, I would say, 2 or 3 days. This one I think is just a rogue. They're not supposed to be hatching yet, and so I don't think that they are. You get a lot of loose baby crickets because they can get in and out of anything.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
So these are baby crickets that went in.
Geez.
Yeah.
Like little tiny baby.
Yeah, you see them? Teeny tiny. So these are the bins that are fully set up. You'll notice it's not very noisy in here because it's all babies with the exception of a few. A couple racks over there that are a little bit older. But
You can hear a few.
yes, but so crickets, it's only the males that chirp and only when they are fully mature.
Yeah.
And so we don't have any that are,
So baby crickets don't make noise.
baby crickets do not make noise. And juvenile crickets do not make noise. The more you know. And female crickets do not make noise. It is literally only the males looking for a mate. So, yeah, in these bins, it's the feed. So it's a non-GMO grain blend that comes from 7 miles south of here. It's either non-GMO or organic. I don't do organic because here in the US you cannot certify crickets organic, and they're expensive enough as it is, so we don't need to make them more expensive. Potatoes and lettuce, just as an additional moisture opportunity and food opportunity for the babies. It's the only time we put fresh produce into the bins. It just helps overall with the pinheads, are what you call baby crickets, and they will drown in a droplet of water, yet they need water. They're the worst, but then also if you don't have it humid enough, relative humidity within your growing area,
Yeah.
they don't have a fully formed exoskeleton, so they'll literally just dry out by osmosis and die.
This feels like the Mississippi Delta to me. I'm a Memphis girl, so I
Yeah, you'll notice I have tops on all of these ones, and we put tops on the babies for the first 7 days. And then after the 7 days, we pull the tops off. But we put the tops on to create a microclimate, essentially, of more humidity.
Oh, okay.
So that they don't dry out. But then once they get to a certain age, you want to pull that off because then you're more concerned about air exchange and ammonia and all that kind of stuff. So that's how we do that.
Yeah, because they poop.
They do poop, but it is dry. They're an animal, you know.
But it's ammonia.
It's ammonia.
Yeah.
Well, and it's ammonia, and you have it too humid in your grow out area at that point. The ammonia plus the humidity creates a noxious sinking gas that kills everything. They're super fun and super easy to grow. No, they're
This is
so...
a strange way of thinking about a farm.
Mhm. Sure.
a lot of shelves with bins that looks like, you know, like somebody's Christmas storage. Gone
Right.
crazy.
I mean, if this doesn't work out, I have an alternate fallback idea, right? I have it already built, ready to rock. Yeah, there's a hole cut in all of these to increase ventilation in my head, but I don't think it actually does anything. I think it was just a bunch of wasted labor, but that's how you learn. So, so yeah, it makes these not as useful in that respect, shall we say. But yeah, we keep it at 86 to 87 degrees here all year round. Growing crickets in here is more difficult during the winter. One, they slow down. They have an internal circadian rhythm that is beyond my pay grade of understanding. I am not an entomologist. I have a bunch of finance degrees. But so they slow down in the winter naturally. And then additionally, we can't bring in any outside air.
There's escapees.
Yes, those are my free range ones. They're 3x the price. If you'd like to catch them, go for it. I always tell people they may not taste any better, but they were free range, that is for sure. Technically, these are cage free. If you take the top off, they're free to go wherever they want. They just don't. But these are the babies, so I'll put those back up on the bins, and then we don't touch them for 7 to 10 days. And they don't need a refresh on feed or water, probably for 14 to 18, depending. But
When they get bigger, they eat more. You
Yes.
need to be in here more.
Yep, they eat more, they drink more, they poop more, they do all of the things more as they get older. Between the 4 and 5 week mark, they hit what I call the hungry teenager phase, where literally you will feed them and you'll just be like, I just fed you. Yeah. Well, so yes, they go through a hungry teenager phase. And then once they've gone through, so they shed their exoskeleton 7 to 8 times over their life cycle. Once they go through that, it's called molting.
Yeah.
Like birds. Once they go through that final molt and they're mature, their rate of consumption goes down massively, but makes logical sense. You don't have any more growing to do.
It's like non-teenagers or
Yeah.
college. You know, once you're out of college.
Yes, you even out slightly.
And by the time you're 80, you eat very little.
Exactly, similar. So, and that is essentially, crickets do not live forever. That's one question I get a lot, especially with kids. They're like, how long will they live? Like, can I have a pet cricket? I'm like, yeah, if you're not going to get too attached, it'll last 5 months. In the wild, if it's enduring temperature swings.
That Jiminy cricket thing.
I know. It's
Convinced everybody.
I know, it set everyone up for absolute disappointment. And then Mulan is the other one.
Yeah,
Where there's the lucky cricket. And I'm like, you guys are just, you making people think that you can have this pet cricket that's just going to live forever, and it's just not. So, and here, they don't make it much past 45 days. So, we, generally speaking, harvest anywhere between 35 and 45 days, dependent on the year, dependent on the average temperature in here. Obviously, in the summer, we don't bring the temperature down.
So how many times do you harvest?
On average per year, 7 times a year. But again, in the summer, we've turned them as fast as 29 or 30 days.
Okay.
So then you can, that's why I say on average. Because then, like I said, things slow down slightly in the winter. It is what it is.
About how much do each of those weigh?
Maybe 10 pounds.
Oh.
Maybe. By the end, 30 something.
Yeah, those egg crates are really lightweight.
They are super lightweight, but they serve their purpose very, very well in reducing cannibalism and stress and all of the other things.
So they kind of hide out in the little
Yes.
nuts of the egg crates?
I've seen calculations or people on the internet, which are the most reliable folks ever, that probably have never raised crickets in their lives, say that you need 2 square centimeters per cricket, 2 square centimeters of surface area per cricket in order to reduce cannibalism. I don't know that you ever get rid of cannibalism. It just is what it is. They eat each other.
They like each other a lot.
Let me mark these. They like the flavor of each other. I used to just use masking tape, and by used to I mean literally the ones over there are marked with masking tape, and I would just put a new piece of masking tape on every time. And then I can't remember if it was YouTube or TikTok. Somebody was like, why don't you get white duct tape and use a dry erase marker? I said, oh. That is very practical. Thank you. Yep, I will take that one on board. Thank you for saying that. But thank you, kind stranger from the internet. And I will tell you, they're not all kind strangers from the internet. That is for certain.
Believe me, I know.
Oh.
It's a good thing the roof is that height because you couldn't go another bin anyway.
No, I wouldn't want to. Because, I mean, that's why I have the step ladder that you're standing next to. But trying to get a uniform temperature, the taller you go, the harder that gets.
Mm-hmm.
So.
How long have you been doing it?
5 years. This will be year 5. I know.
Wow.
I know.
It's a lot of crickets.
It is a lot of crickets. So these ones over here are, I don't know what, 17, maybe 20 days old, 2 weeks old. I don't know. More like 2 weeks old.
They look more like crickets.
Yes. They do. They're still small, but.
And they hide from people.
They don't like people. They don't like light. They don't like noise. Basically hate everything about me, which is fine.
It's like when you're trying to find a cricket at your house, you can hear the chirping, but they keep running from you.
Yep, and now you know it's a male cricket every time. Every time. So there's those ones, and then these ones are coming up on 4 weeks old. So these ones you can start to tell the difference between males and females if I just don't scare them all away. So if you see like that one just ran away. So these ones right here on the edges, you see they have that little black.
I saw it in your Instagram the other day too.
Oh yes, yes. So this is the molt where they start to indicate whether they're males or females. And you tell it visually with the females, and then you'll hear the males eventually.
Is there a certain breed of crickets that are mainly used for protein powders?
Yeah, so these are Ankeny domesticus. It's a common house cricket. Same ones that you would feed your lizard. And the reason you do that and not like the wild ones here, and I assume in St. Louis, probably the same wild ones they're these black field crickets.
Yeah.
I don't know what the Latin name for it is, but so those ones, everybody's got a story for me about how crunchy it is when they step on it. Blah, blah, blah. Stories people tell me, it's great. But so these ones will crunch still, but not as dramatically because they have a softer exoskeleton.
Oh.
That's one of the reasons that they get fed to pets and people is because better mouthfeel, but also they're a non-invasive species in all 50 states. They're native to Southeast Asia, so they're not a concern for becoming a problem. So they can be shipped live across all 50 states without a permit. And then, so there's one other breed that typically gets raised for pet food and or people food. It's a banded cricket. Mm-hmm. They have a really shrill chirp. I don't like that at all. The other reason that I did not choose them is because the message boards on the internet, which are super reliable, said that they bite, and I was not interested in having millions of biting crickets. So, exactly, your nightmare. So
my brother-in-law was asking because he uses Australian brown crickets for fishing.
Okay. I would guess they're these.
I was told they were high protein and.
Yeah, I mean, so that's one of the things too, is because they have a less crunchy shell, that implies that there's a lower level of chitin, which makes the protein more bioavailable. That is perhaps what he heard. That or some bait shop really sold him.
He says he's heard it at lots of bait shops.
Yes, they are. And so these are the same ones that are at bait shops. So
okay.
It's common house cricket.
So he can start munching on the ones he has left over.
10 out of 10 don't recommend that, but you could. If you were going to do that, please cook them first. Let's put it that way. It would be my recommendation. I get a lot of people, especially in the fall, they're like, oh, I got a basement full of those. I can give them to you if you want. I'm like, wrong one, sorry. And they're like, well, what, are mine not good enough? I'm like, well, no offense, but I don't know where they've been and I don't know what they've eaten. And they're like, they're in my house. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't help.
Thanks for checking out our videos. We'd love for you to subscribe, watch some more videos, follow our podcast in general. I'm your host, Janice Person.